Hey, how about $10,000 to spend on homeschooling? Yay! No. Hi there, sweet mommies. This is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com. I'm the mom of 15 children, and I've been homeschooling over 3 decades. And today I want to talk about something that will add to your life. So while I'm talking, you can do anything you want to that you have to get done. You know, those dishes or that laundry you got to fold, whatever. And listen as we dive into the good life in Jesus. So what about this $10,000 thing that's going around the internet? I've seen it in a couple of places. And when I went back to actually look at the source of the information, it was very different than the report I first received. It was based on this little clip of a speech given by Donald Trump in support of homeschooling, which is wonderful. Now, I was going to do a podcast. My podcast this week was going to be on the myth of overpopulation. And I have spent at least 20 hours just in research for this podcast that I'm going to do, but I ran out of time. I mean, I was furiously trying to fit in all the time I would need to write it. It's like, yeah, it's major stuff, okay? So it's going to be really, really good when I get it out. But I think there's something more present that I need to deal with in this homeschooling idea that we are going to get all this money. Okay. Now, as you heard from that speech, it's not that we're getting a tax credit, like, you know, a credit for like we think of the unearned tax credit that a lot of us can qualify for, and then we have the child tax credit. And what those things are, they actually put money towards the taxes you owe, and then whatever's left over you get to keep, right? But that's not what this is. What this is, it's more like a health savings account. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. My husband was employed by a firm that did this, and what they did is they would put a certain amount of money in a savings account, and that made that money untaxable, okay? Because that money was set aside only for health issues, right? And so this thing for homeschooling, from what I understand, what people are talking about, it would be more like that. It's not that you receive any money from the government, but whatever money you spend, then the government can't tax that money. So if you're in a tax bracket where you know you need everything that you can deduct from your income helps you pay less taxes, then that would really benefit you. For most of us who homeschool, and we have lots of kids, that doesn't really apply to us. But still, it's a sweet idea. And why wouldn't we want $10,000? And let me make it clear, we don't want $10,000 from the government. No, this is a bad, bad, bad idea. Okay, I know it sounds so great. You're like, $10,000, wow, I could buy the best curriculum. I could decorate the schoolroom. We could go on lots of different trips. We could get some courses. We could do all these kind of things with this money. I know what it sounds like, but that's not what it would be like if the government was to give us a $10,000 tax credit. And I understand where that comes from, because we're taxed, as everyone is, for the schools, but we don't receive any benefit from the schools, right? So I understand. I think the more radical way to make that right would be to stop taxing everybody's property to pay for schools, and then get the government out of the schools, let the schools be funded by each community. And there's a whole bunch of different ways to go about that. But anyway, if you receive money from the government, you've got to be accountable for that money. That's the way it works, because, it's the people's money being given to you. So somebody is going to have to make an account for why that was given to you in particularly, and what did you use that for? Okay. What happens then is, and we could put this in like real terms. Okay. So you want to homeschool your children, and you say, oh, that $10,000, that would be really helpful. So the government gives you a form, and you have to fill out the form, and you have to explain give a justification as to why you consider yourself to be a homeschooler. So you might have to justify how many hours you spend teaching your children. Then you might have to do some standardized testing. You might have to have a visit from an official to show them what kind of curriculum you're using. You might have to prove that your kids were in good health. You might have to have immunization records, and on and on and on and on and on. You understand that once we open the door to get money from the government, then the government has the authority to come into our lives and tell us what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, right? Because like you can think about it from the other end. As a taxpayer, do I want my tax money going to someone who's going to teach someone, like Satanism or something like that? Do I want that to go to that? I'm not sure about that. See, if everyone has their own responsibility, then we can do things that we wouldn't. Now, I'm not advocating for teaching Satan, but freedom. You know what I'm trying to say? If we want to teach people about Jesus and we don't want to get politically correct and all that kind of stuff, are we going to be able to do that under this system? Now, I know a lot of people, I've actually personally been in touch with people who homeschool in Alaska. And in Alaska, they do give people money for curriculum. And what you find is they won't pay for certain curriculum, right? Certain curriculum are off their list because they only will support secular homeschooling materials and not overtly Christian homeschooling materials. I've heard this from a number of people. So I got to understand that it's kind of a sticky wicket, as they say. Okay, so even as like an HSA, even treating like the tax being not being taxed for $10,000 worth of homeschooling materials, you understand that gives the IRS more authority in our lives, because then they have to make sure that someone's not, taking advantage of the system. As someone could say, well, we went on a cruise with our family and it was very educational, so we wrote off the cruise as being homeschooling. And so the IRS then is going to have more reasons to reach into our lives, right? Because so they're going to start auditing people and they're going to have to have parameters. And it's just, I wish the government would just leave homeschooling alone. Just leave education alone, right? So it's a very, very sweet thing. I'm so glad that we have a president that does support homeschooling. I'm so thankful for that. It's so wonderful. But I just think that we all need to be very careful of any time that, Greeks bearing gifts, right? Like, when the Greeks snuck the Trojan horse in and then inside were all the soldiers, remember? We have to be very careful about that. So all I'm advocating here is caution, because things are not always as they seem. So with that, this is a short one today. I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to give you something to say I was still alive while I'm doing all this research. This thing that I'm taking a deep dive into, it's so fun. You're going to really love all the things I'm digging up about the amazing super abundance of our planet, including nature. Did you know, just as a little teaser here, did you know that we've been returning farmland back into the wild as we've become better and better at agriculture? Did you know that? Did you know that if the entire world was at the agricultural efficiency of the United States, that we could return to the wild an area of arable land the size of 10 Iowas? Yeah. Interesting. So I've even got more stuff than that. So just be excited. It's coming. Hopefully next week. I'm still working on it. I'm working on all my projects. I'm working on the 3rd commonplace book. Yes, yes, yes. So you have a wonderful day. Please like and subscribe and do all the bell things. And I love you. Bye-bye.